Now, Apple have just fixed something that has been annoying me about my iPad since I bought it. Actually, they fixed several things. Here's what's new in iPadOS 27. Before we get into this one, a quick caveat. The stuff I'm going to show you in this video is in the current iPadOS 27 developer beta. And that means it's early, it's rough in places, and whatever ships in September is going to be different from what I show you today. Some features are not finished, some will probably change, but I've got some really cool stuff to show you. There's also something worth knowing if you've been watching iOS 27 coverage elsewhere. Some of what you've seen, like Siri's camera control mode, is in the iPhone beta, but hasn't made it onto iPadOS yet. So if you're wondering why I'm not showing you something you've seen in another video, that's probably why. I'm only going to cover what's actually here on iPad right now. Let's start with the headline feature, which is Siri AI, and Apple spent most of their WWDC keynote talking about it, and honestly, for once, I think the attention might be warranted. Siri has been completely rebuilt. It's powered by Apple Intelligence and it's been trained on all of Google's Gemini models. And the result is something that actually feels quite different to use. And for the first time in forever, Siri actually feels intelligent. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. And now it has its own standalone app. You can open it up like any other app. You can type or talk to Siri or even scribble if the mood takes you. And it works just like a proper chat interface like ChatGPT, but it's Siri and it knows all your stuff. Conversations also sync across devices too, so that you can start something on your iPhone and then pick it up on your iPad if you like. It won't save classic Siri commands like setting timers and reminders, but all your conversations and your questions will be there. Now, the bit that's really impressed me so far is the screen awareness. It's quite a different way of invoking Siri. It can actually read what's on your display and then act on it. So I've got a gig ticket here with information about a show that I'm going to next month. I can just hold the button, the Siri animation pops up, and then I can say, add this to my calendar, and it's pulled out the time and the location and the title and just added it. No copy and paste, no switching apps. That's pretty new. It can also take actions inside apps for you, like messages or reminders or music. You can tell it to do things rather than just navigate there and type in requests yourself. And it can write for you virtually anywhere that you type. So here in Apple Notes, I can draft something from scratch like this, or get some feedback on what I've written, or maybe ask it to read everything and make me a summary. Now, you can also customize the voice of Siri now, the pitch, the pace, the expressivity. It's a small thing, but it's quite a nice thing to have. And before you get too excited with new Siri, there are two things that are well worth knowing. And you'll probably be wondering, is this one coming to your specific device? Well, if you're on any iPad with an M1 chip or later, you get it. The app, the screen awareness, the cross-device conversations, all the writing tools, all of that is included. So that's the vast majority of iPad Pros and iPad Airs that have been sold in the last 4 years will definitely be in that bracket. But where this gets more specific is the very top tier of the Siri experience, the most advanced on-device AI models that power the more expressive voices and the higher quality dictation. Well, they require an M4 iPad with at least 12 gigs of RAM. And that's where it gets a bit annoying, because not all iPads are in that category. Not even all M4 iPads are in that category, actually. For example, the base M4 iPad Pro, the 256 gig and 512 gig models only have 8 gigabytes of RAM, so those miss out on the fully localized version. The ones that do qualify are the M4 iPad Air, which has 12 gigabytes across all configurations, and also the M4 iPad Pro, the 1 terabyte and 2 terabytes configurations. They come with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and of course the M5 iPad Pros too. Now, that being said, if that's not you, you're not being left behind, because even on an 8 gigabyte device like this 7th gen iPad mini, those features aren't completely gone. They just run through private cloud compute rather than entirely locally on the device. Apple's privacy claims will apply either way, but it's not the same as running everything locally, and you might just find that things take a bit longer to get you an answer. So in summary, if you're on M1 or later, you're getting the new Siri AI, or if you're on a well-spec'd M4 or M5, you're getting all of it on device, and it really is super fast. And if you're on an older iPad than M1, iPadOS 27 won't install at all, which is a separate conversation. I said there were two things, and this one is relevant if you're watching from anywhere in the EU. Siri AI is not coming to EU devices at launch at all. That's down to DMA regulations, which require Apple to give third-party AI assistants like ChatGPT and Claude the same full system access as Siri. Now, Apple hasn't sorted that out yet, so EU users are going to be locked out for now. So my take on this after using it for a week or so, this is the Siri that Apple promised back in 2024. Whether it actually delivers when the public release hits in September, well, that is the real question. Before I carry on, a quick word from today's sponsor, which is from EIP and specifically their Pencil X. Now, we were just talking about shortcuts and automation, and this thing leans right into that. It's a third-party Apple Pencil alternative that works from iPads from 2018 all the way through to 2026. And you know the one thing that the Apple Pencil doesn't have? It's customizable shortcuts built into the pencil itself. So you can single tap or double tap the tail button, and then you can assign whatever action you want. You can activate Siri, voice control, go to your home screen, or anything else you like. You can set all of that up in the EIP app. That same app also lets you adjust the pen tip strength, which sounds pretty niche, but actually solves a classic problem with third-party styluses because different iPad models have got different signal requirements. So if you've ever had skipping or connection issues with a pencil, this will probably fix it. There's also a spare metal tip in the box, and you can even customize the taillight color if you want to match your setup. It has a 10-hour battery, USB-C fast charge, palm rejection, tilt sensitivity, and full iPadOS feature support, and it also magnetically attaches to your iPad when you're not using it. And most importantly, it's under $40, so it's about a third of the price of the Apple Pencil Pro. There's a link in the description, or you can scan this code if you want to check out all of EIP's latest deals. Right, what else can I show you? Well, visual intelligence is now on iPad. The idea is really simple. So you see something on your screen, you activate Siri either by holding down the home button or by swiping anywhere in the top of the screen. By the way, can we just give it up for this swiping animation? It's so nice. From there, you can ask questions about it, and then Siri will go off and find you an answer. So let's take a picture of some trees. We can find out what trees they are. And as another example, here I'm shopping for some new swimwear. I'm not sure about using them in a pool, but Siri has found an answer and given me a reliable source too. Now, if we stick with Apple Intelligence, this is also baked into a bunch of the apps you already use. So Photos get some really useful editing tools. Reframe, for example, lets you crop and then recompose a shot after you've taken it. AI actually figures out what to fill in. I've tried this a few times and it works a treat, and even on any kind of photo, not just the ones that were taken by Apple devices. Extend does the same thing in the other direction, so it'll expand the edges of an image for you. And you can do this almost infinitely, so you can extend an already extended image, which is kind of wild. There's also cleanup, which was already very useful, but it can now remove much bigger objects from photos without any horrible glitching. Apple Notes also has a handful of updates that I think iPad users specifically will really appreciate. You can now paste content as Markdown. So if you're copying from a text editor or a website, it comes in formatted rather than just as a wall of plain text. Weirdly, you still can't write a note using Markdown, but maybe that will come later on. Siri can also act on your handwritten notes. So if you've been scribbling on your iPad with a pencil, lecture notes, meeting notes, whatever, you can ask Siri to turn them into a structured study guide or reorganize bullet points into a proper agenda. I think for people who actually use their iPad for note-taking, that's a pretty significant upgrade. Apple Calendar also lets you add events by description. You can just tell it what's happening using natural language and it'll figure out the details for you. And also there's the Passwords app, which will now fix itself. It will spot weak or compromised passwords, and then it can update them on your behalf without you having to do anything. That's the agentic bit. It's not just flagging the problem, it will actually solve it for you. Okay, shortcuts. This one has been a long time coming. I reckon the Shortcuts app has always been powerful and almost entirely ignored by most people because building automations requires you to think a certain way, a bit like a coder really. I think iPadOS will definitely change that. In the Shortcuts app, you can just describe what you want in plain language and then Siri AI will build the shortcut for you. When I was testing this out, I asked it to text my wife when I leave the office and say I'm going to be home soon. It built the location trigger, the contact action and the message template correctly right on the first try. Things like complex multi-step automations have been a bit less reliable in the beta. I did have a dream it might solve my export nightmare from day one into Apple Journal, but no, that hasn't worked so far. For common tasks though, yeah, you can pretty much vibe code shortcuts now. Let's talk about performance, because this is the section that will probably have the most impact on your day-to-day, even if it's the least exciting to talk about. Pretty much everything feels much faster. Apps launching, AirDrop transfers, even file transfers to an external drive are up to 5 times faster on your iPad now. And I know that a lot of people use SSDs to offload videos and footage from their iPad, so yeah, prepare to be impressed here. There's also a rebuilt CPU scheduler that makes older iPads feel noticeably more responsive. So I tested this on my iPad mini and I did definitely notice that there was an improvement in the speed. We also need to talk about liquid glass. This was the translucent design language that divided pretty much everyone very sharply when it was released last year. Some people loved it, a lot of people found it really hard to read, especially against light backgrounds. Well, as soon as you install iPadOS 27, it'll show you a slider, and that basically lets you customize it from fully clear all the way to fully tinted or somewhere in between. You can set it once to your taste and never think about it again, but the fact that it exists means that Apple heard the feedback. I've also noticed in my testing, even with the maximum clear translucency on, the contrast between these layers is improved and the refraction is a lot more uniform, so even at the default setting, it's way more readable than it was in iOS 26. Now, here are a bunch of things that didn't really fit in neatly elsewhere, but I do think are worth talking about. Firstly, iCloud shared albums now works with Android and Windows users, so they can join, they can contribute photos and interact with the albums. This is really big if all of your family isn't entirely on Apple hardware. Also, finally, AirPods now get a 3-band custom EQ, lows, mids and highs that you can adjust directly from your iPad settings. I know so many people preferred the sound profile of the AirPods Pro Gen 2s to the latest generation Gen 3s, and well, now you can tweak it to however you like. 3D Maps has also been significantly upgraded. It now uses visual intelligence models to render individual trees, architectural details, and all that sort of thing. And now Photos app gets slideshows just like on your phone, so you can set duration, the transitions, choose the music, and even save the result as a video to your photo library. The iMessage sync is now faster and more reliable across your devices, so less of that thing where your iPad is still showing unread messages that you cleared on your phone an hour ago. And also accessibility gets a really meaningful set of updates, automatic captions for any video that you're watching, caption translation into other languages, and also richer image descriptions through VoiceOver. Let's talk about the child safety features. I think this one is worth covering, especially if you've got kids who are using an iPad. So when you're setting all of this up, this now lets parents choose exactly which apps their child can access from the first time they ever turn the device on. So you can pick a handful of essentials, a recommended set, or go through it manually app by app if you prefer. Ask to browse is also new. Kids have to request permission to visit a website they haven't been to before, and the parent gets the request in messages with a preview of the site before they approve or decline. Really good idea. Communication safety has been expanded too. It used to flag nudity in shared images and videos, but now it also catches gore and violence. Again, really important if you want to make sure that your child doesn't see anything that they're not supposed to. And also time allowances now lets you set limits by category: entertainment, games, and social media, with defaults based on the child's age that have been developed with child development experts. And the parental controls interface has been completely redesigned to make it far easier to check usage and also make adjustments on the fly. So that's iPadOS 27 as it stands right now in the developer beta. The public beta lands in July. The full release is expected somewhere around mid-September alongside the iPhone 18 announcement. Like I said though, Siri AI is the headline, and it's genuinely the most interesting, most powerful version of Siri Apple has ever shipped. But if I'm being honest, the performance improvements are probably what you'll notice first, and all the little things like even having a different volume for your alarms, that one's going to make a lot of people happy, I think. If you want to stay across all the updates as the betas evolve, please make sure you're subscribed, and in the meantime, I'll see you in the next one.